Well, hello everybody, how are you doing this fine day? I hope you're enjoying your weekend. So I was looking through my videos the other day and I realized, it's been a really long time since I delivered you guys just a really sizable video. One that has me doing a serious deep dive into some kind of universe and like really going all in, I don't know about you guys, but this 15-20 minute bullshit's getting real fucking old real fast. I've been very lazy recently. So I've decided to wake up a little bit earlier this morning and bestow upon the people the greatness that you see before you today. So how will our survivors do today if you just took them and chucked them on in the Mortal Kombat universe? If you enjoy the video, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, share, and join the membership. Remember, if you join the membership, you get videos early. And if you would like to continue this conversation, we do indeed have a Discord channel. Just go on down to the pinned comment or the video description and join the Discord. But I'm wasting up your time. Let's get started. Some rules before we begin, because there are a couple of things that I'm doing in this video that I kind of have to do a little differently than I would normally do it in my normal survival challenges. If you've been to my channel before, you know that my survival challenges are not about taking characters and chucking them at other characters and just having them fight. That's boring. You want to see that shit? There's like 50 other channels you can go to get that. No, what we do here is we take the character and their characterization into account, throw them in the universe and see what decisions they make, what alliances they might find into, what sides they'll choose. Maybe they're evil, maybe they're good, maybe they're conniving and they might manipulate people. Characterization is generally far more important than the actual power scaling and who would win against who in a fight. Although, who would win in a fight is a factor. The part about this that's going to be a little bit different is that who would win in a fight is, fucked. I avoided doing Mortal Kombat for a really, really long time because there is no consistent power level in the Mortal Kombat universe anywhere, not even within individual games or even individual levels. Everything is fucking random. You'll have Johnny Cage be able to beat characters like Shinnok the Elder God or Citra, who's shown being able to grow bigger than the planet Earth, but then he runs away and can't do anything against just like a basic bitch tank. And then he'll get shot in the face and not be able to react or even see the bullet flying, but yet he'll fight Cabal, who we see deflect dozens of bullets casually. You'll have shit like Kronika showing up and having like this universal, multiversal power where she can control every single timeline, but yet literally every single character on the roster is capable of defeating her and does at some point or another, because every single arcade ending with her being beaten is canon and happened in another timeline. For instance, if you go and watch the Snowblind film, the animated film that they made, that movie actually takes place in a timeline where Kano, of all fucking people, defeated Kronika, the multiversal fucking being apparently, and took over the power of the Hourglass. This shit is just fucking everywhere. Characters in the Mortal Kombat universe are as powerful or as weak as they need to be. I don't even want to get into the fucking fatalities where these characters are so powerful they can instantly one-shot and explode half of a person's body and then show absolutely nothing even close to that shit in the actual game. And then you get into the multiple continuities where the very early continuity had shit like Shao Kahn being able to destroy an entire planet, but now he fights against people who are severely harmed by having like a little brick wall thing fall over on them. It's ridiculous. There is no consistency to be found here. They don't even try to. Not even the slightest attempt is made. So for the first time ever in a Would You Survive challenge, I'm not even going to attempt to talk about any form of power level. Everyone's just the same because that's what they are in the story. You can have Scorpion beat Johnny Cage's ass easily and then have Johnny Cage beat Scorpion's ass even easier just a couple hours later, despite the fact that nobody had a power-up. It's just what the plot needed. So when I introduce these other characters into the universe from their universe, just know I'm aware that some of these characters may not be as physically powerful, some of them may not be as fast or whatever. I don't care because Mortal Kombat doesn't fucking care. So it's sort of like stat equalization, although not entirely like stat equalization. For instance, if a character's whole thing is fucking speed and they're just speedy as fuck, I'm not just gonna pretend that they're not speedy as fuck and just say that they're all the same speed. Like, I'll give the character an advantage that he's speedy as fuck. He just won't be so speedy that the other characters can't even fucking touch him, like if they're light speed or some shit. So if you're watching this and you're having some issues because it's starting to sound like it's kind of inconsistent, well, you know what? Welcome to fucking Mortal Kombat. I would say that's pretty fucking appropriate for the universe we're talking about. Rule number 2, that's not really a rule. I'm going to try as hard as humanly possible to not roast the ever-loving shit out of Mortal Kombat this entire video. Just to let you know, air it out, get it out there, be transparent, all that stuff. The world of Mortal Kombat in certain aspects is really, really cool, which is understandable why so many people have asked me to talk about it. It's also really lame in a lot of ways, and I'll probably get into that in this video. But the storyline, like across the board, is fucking dog shit. It's so ass. And look, I know I give things like the Norse God of War games a lot of shit for being not good, but when I say that it's not good, that's all I mean, is that it's not good. I give it like a C-, but it's not dog shit. Mortal Kombat story is dog shit. It is terrible, but I will do my best to an extent to not spend this whole video roasting it. I'm gonna try and take this seriously, put them in this universe, have them interact, and if something becomes appropriate that I need to roast, you know, it's gonna get roasted. But the roasting of Mortal Kombat is not what this video is about, okay? So, just making that clear. So let's get into it. What's this Mortal Kombat shit all about? Mortal Kombat is made up of 6 realms or worlds, or they're universes basically. And that is Earthrealm, Outworld, Edenia, Netherrealm, Chaos Realm, and Order Realm. At one point there was way more, I don't know how many, but we know that like Reptile came from one. There was just a whole universe filled with reptile people, and Natara came from one, which is like a vampire world, and fucking Devora came from one, which is like a bug world, and there were all kinds, but Shao Kahn conquered them all and then absorbed them all into Outworld, so now there's only 6. But luckily for me, I don't have to go over all 6 because the story really only involves 2 and then kind of a third. The story almost entirely evolves around Outworld and Earthrealm with a little bit of Netherrealm. Edenia is important when it comes to the backstory, like shit that happens before the start of the original game, but as far as the actual current story goes, it's not important. And Chaos Realm and Order Realm are basically non-factors. Although with Havoc being teased as the villain of the next game, Chaos Realm actually might get more shine, but that's up in the air right now. So a long time ago, there was this big, meaty, fucking badass, conquering asshole who was going around conquering all these different worlds with basically no resistance whatsoever. Like, despite the fact that all of these universes are filled with a bunch of kung fu masters, none of them could stop this dude from coming in and just taking all their shit. This man was Shao Kahn, who was the ruler of Outworld. And these fights ended up being so one-sided that the Elder Gods actually had to come together and start fabricating rules so he didn't just take over everything fucking immediately. The rules that were created were eventually molded into what we know as now as the Mortal Kombat tournament, which is basically, he can't just enter a universe and take it over, because if he did that, they would stand no chance of fighting back at all and they would instantly be wiped out. So now what happens is, for Shao Kahn to be able to invade a world, he has to win 10 tournaments in a row against that world's greatest fighters, which he can only schedule once every 1,000 years to give those worlds time to prepare for said battles. And after he wins all 10 tournaments, he can then invade and blah blah blah. That's how it works. At the start of the story of Mortal Kombat, Earthrealm has already lost 9 fucking tournaments in a row. Shao Kahn only has to win 1 tournament and then he can invade Earthrealm and take over. Raiden, the Elder God of Thunder, sees this happening and he's like, ha, no bitch. He decides to get involved and to personally oversee the training of the Earthrealm combatants. This is a big no-no because the Elder Gods are not supposed to get involved with this sort of stuff, so Raiden has to actually give up his godhood in order for this to be, you know, okay. And that's basically the main concept of the game. You have one incredibly powerful world known as Outworld that is essentially just an amalgamation of a bunch of other different worlds that he's already conquered, getting all of the greatest fighters from all of those countless worlds to join this one tournament to take over this one asshole place that just won't fucking give up, and Earthrealm just being on its very last legs, praying that they can win this one tournament and buy them at least another 10,000 years of peace. Doesn't exactly work out that way, but that was the goal. Our survivors in this particular challenge will be taken and basically entering the story in that original Mortal Kombat 1 storyline. Not Mortal Kombat 1, the last one, but like the original Mortal Kombat. Have I mentioned how stupid it is to call it Mortal Kombat 1? Bro, you could have called it fucking anything else. Mortal Kombat Redux, Mortal Kombat Origins, Mortal Kombat The Beginning, Mortal Kombat Anew, Mortal Kombat Genesis. I don't give a shit. Literally anything else. Now, this is normally the part where I start listing all the different characters and the powers they have and all the different challenges that our characters might actually face when they go into this universe. But this is a fucking fighting game. So the challenges and the characters they're gonna face is a fucking fighting game roster. So I'd have to go over every character that's ever appeared in Mortal Kombat. No, I'm not doing that. That's stupid. But I will bring them up as they become important during the video. Like, it wouldn't make any sense for me to spend 15 minutes talking about, you know, the story of Baraka and all the Tarkatans, and then I make the video and realize, fuck, he never even came up. What the fuck did I just do all that for? So let's get to the survivors. First up on the list, we have Mizu from Blue Eyed Samurai. A long time ago on a little island known as Japan, there was a whole bunch of Japanese people, and then all of a sudden 4 white dudes came and they started fucking their shit up like really badly. They started raping and pillaging and murdering and doing all kind of fuck shit. And in all that raping and pillaging and murdering, they eventually impregnated a whole lot of women, specifically one woman who then had a baby known as Mizu. Now, because of a white man coming over and putting his foot in that ass, Japan had a serious issue with just like white people in general. They became very racist, like super racist. And because of that, Mizu didn't have the best life. Sadly for Mizu, she was born with blue eyes. Well, I mean, not sadly. I mean, obviously those are better eyes. Like, come on, seriously. Blue is obviously better. Have we really gotten to a point in society where we can't openly talk about what races are better than other races? Come on, what the fuck is this? Nazi Germany? Because Mizu had blue eyes, it was an instant indicator to anyone who ever comes into contact with her that she is clearly got a bit of the whiteness in her. A little bit of that white devil. And they just started to treat her like shit, literally treating her like less than human. And I guess this is where I'm gonna start losing some people, because, you know, not everybody out there can understand the pain that my people have gone through of all these goddamn minorities oppressing my whiteness. Because she was treated this way, she grew up to basically come to an understanding that white people suck, and it sucks for her to be white, and she doesn't like being white, and that part of her is something that she should absolutely despise and hate and destroy and tear apart. And this made her build a massive amount of hatred for basically the father that birthed her. After the pseudo death of her mother, she became an orphan living on the streets and was eventually taken in by this master blacksmith. Through him, she not only learned how to blacksmith and make weapons, but she also watched all the samurai that would come by and pick up their swords and train with them, and basically copied their moves and taught herself how to sword fight. And this was all in preparation for her inevitably to leave and go hunt down and kill her father. Problem with that is she doesn't actually know who her father is. She just knows he's one of 4 possible dudes. So now she's going all around Japan hunting all 4 of these motherfuckers so she can kill them and, you know, get her revenge and all that. What this then leads to is a massive adventure all across Japan where she kills a fuck ton of people. In terms of skill, nothing in the Blue Eye Samurai universe can even touch Mizu. She is stupidly overpowered, especially for a woman. And I'm not saying that to be sexist. I'm saying that because, well, come on. But also, unlike a lot of series where men and women are basically the same power level, and it's just based on whoever the writer wants to win the fight, Blue Eyed Samurai actually does point out that men are stronger than women. But Mizu in particular is stronger than pretty much anybody else in the entire series due to her white power. No, it's actually due to this whole theme that the story has where it's sort of made ambiguous, but Mizu is kind of a demon. At one point in the story, they tell this sort of fable or legend, I don't know what you would call it. Basically, it's about how a woman loses all of her humanity through multiple betrayals and all this kind of stuff, and eventually, after losing her humanity, she becomes a demon that is a being that is greater than any man could be. And this relates directly into the theme of the story, as Mizu has essentially purposely let go of all of her humanity in an attempt to become an instrument of vengeance. It has no human connections, love, anything. She wants to be an empty instrument of vengeance. And that plays a part in the story of making her above human in terms of physical ability. A little bit off topic to the video, if you haven't actually seen Blue Eye Samurai, you definitely need to go see it. It's probably the first or second best show on all of Netflix. I put the 2 best shows on Netflix being Arcane and Blue Eyed Samurai. And no, that's not because I'm a fucking weeboo who only watches cartoons. I've seen Cobra Kai and Stranger Things, a bunch of their live action shit. Okay? It just happens to be that their animated shit seems to be the better shit. Cyberpunk Edge Runners would probably be on that list too, but I like Blue Eyed Samurai a little better than Cyberpunk Edge Runners. Anyway, point is, good show, check it out. So how would Mizu do if she entered the Mortal Kombat universe? Well, first off, we have to see why she would even fucking be there. Because Mizu only exists for one reason, and that is to kill these 4 guys. She doesn't really have a reason to enter the Mortal Kombat tournament because she doesn't care what happens to the world outside of killing these 4 guys. So the only way she would enter that Mortal Kombat tournament is if someone promised her that they would essentially offer these 4 guys to her if she fought for them. And given that that's the case, I feel like it would only make sense that she would join Outworld. I just don't see Raiden saying, hey, come fight for Earthrealm and I'll give you 4 dudes to murder. That seems more of like an Outworld thing. Especially since Outworld already kind of did that with Scorpion. They made a deal that they would give Scorpion Sub-Zero to kill if he fought for that. So yeah, it's kind of the same thing. In terms of the actual tournament fights, she would do rather well. While she's definitely going to suffer from the fact that she doesn't really have any powers. She can't teleport like Scorpion. She doesn't have the weird green blasts or fire powers or anything. She's just like a chick with a sword. Her general skill level is pretty much unmatched in her own universe. So translate that over to Mortal Kombat and she would be in the upper limits of skill. Like I said, in her universe, she's so good at fighting that people don't even consider her human anymore. At one point, she literally takes on like damn near 100 dudes by herself, and she kills pretty much all of them. She is not human, at least not as far as her combat skill is concerned. So I think even putting her in fights up against characters who can do things like teleport, I don't necessarily think that that means that she's not going to be able to win these fights. She's going to do relatively well, but I don't think that really matters because a large portion of the story of Mortal Kombat happens outside of the actual tournament fights. I mean, Johnny Cage loses his tournament fight pretty early on. Isn't like his first fight he loses, but he's still involved in the entire fucking storyline of the game because all that shit happens outside. So yeah, it doesn't really matter if she wins or loses. In terms of her actual story and what will happen, I honestly think it'll kind of parrot a lot of what happened with Kitana. You see, Kitana was a princess of Edenia that was conquered by Shao Kahn. She served Shao Kahn as his sort of daughter figure, despite the fact that she fucking hated him, and she eventually betrayed Shao Kahn and came over to the good side due to the influence of Liu Kang, the hero of the series. The main difference here between Kitana and Mizu is that Kitana actually had a hatred for Shao Kahn, and Mizu isn't going to give a shit about Shao Kahn. Basically, Kitana already had one foot in the door of betraying Shao Kahn, and Mizu doesn't. As long as Shao Kahn stands by his word and gets her what she wants, she is likely to stay with him. However, Mizu's whole story about her eliminating all of her humanity to become just this tool for vengeance is kind of shown in the show to be sort of bullshit. She believes that she has no humanity left, and a lot of characters in the series believe that she has no humanity left, but it's shown multiple times that that's not actually the case. Not only is she shown to not be sadistic or brutal, she'll spare people, even enemies, if they don't want to fight her anymore. She never once kills an innocent person. At one point, someone's trying to kill her and she sees how young the person is, and she refuses to kill him simply because of his age. She's shown to not be an evil person. And she's shown throughout season 1 to care about multiple characters and to do things solely for their benefit, despite the fact that she's not really realizing that that's why she's doing it. She has it so ingrained in her mind that she is subhuman that she doesn't realize that she's actually a pretty decent person. And I think that seeing what Shao Kahn is doing and seeing the evil that Outworld does to other people, it's only a matter of time before she eventually turns against Outworld. It might not be in the first game, might not be in the second game, but eventually she will betray Outworld because she's not the person that she believes she is. She is not this evil tool of death. She's actually a pretty caring, selfless person when it comes down to it. She usually has to force herself to be this cruel person because that's how she sees herself. And once that happens, she's going to join Earthrealm with the other heroes. Now, as far as if she's ever going to actually give up her vengeance, as of right now in the show, it only has 1 season. Probably not. This version of Mizu is never turning her back on her vengeance. It's not happening. It's damn near the only thing that she cares about. Now, perhaps at some point, the influence of characters like Liu Kang and Johnny Cage can kind of change her mind and let her see that there's more important things in life than just getting your vengeance. And also, admittedly, not being in Japan, where everyone is constantly telling her that she's less than human for being part white, may actually make her come to some form of acceptance of being white. Like at the end of season 1, she leaves Japan and she's on her way to go to London, and perhaps when she gets there and she meets a bunch of other white people, she might start to view her whiteness a little differently than she does currently. And she might see something similar by seeing Johnny Cage and Sonya Blade and all these other white characters who aren't just fucking pure evil. That's definitely a possibility, but it's not gonna be an easy hill to climb because this bitch literally spent her entire life believing that white and devil are the same fucking thing. So Mizu in the Mortal Kombat universe is gonna have a storyline that's basically going to be about her coming to terms with who she is and possibly turning her back on her vengeance. It's basically gonna be Scorpion's storyline and Kitana's storyline fused together, and then like throwing a bit of like racial aspects in there. However, I do think that her storyline's probably going to be cut short due to the fact that she just doesn't have any powers. Insane levels of combat skill will only go so far when you have characters that can drag you to fucking hell or mind fuck you or erase you from time or all of the crazy shit that characters can actually do to you in this fucking universe. She's basically going to be fighting everybody with this permanent handicap of just being a regular human when everybody else in the world are fucking superpowered beings. It's just not fair. I think she'll make it through the first game okay. She might make it through the second game, although it might be a little bit more difficult because they start fighting like dragons and shit. And again, while being barely human, she is still kind of human. So does Mizu survive in the Mortal Kombat universe? She for sure can, but it ain't gonna be fucking easy. And a lot of it's gonna be reliant on luck. Basically, who does she actually come into contact with and fight against? Is she gonna fight against Shang Tsung, who could literally rip her soul out of her fucking body? I mean, that's not fucking fair. Next up, we have Aang from Avatar: The Last Airbender. And I know this one's a little weird because Aang is a fucking pacifist, and this is a Mortal Kombat challenge. So, you know, not exactly the best fit. I was originally going to put Batman on here, but then I remembered that Batman has had crossovers with this already, like in the actual games and shit. So that just sort of inherently felt less interesting. So here we are. We got Aang. Aang comes from a world called, I don't actually know what the name of the world Aang comes from is called. Is it Earth? Do they just call it Earth? I mean, it's not Earth, but I think it is Earth, even though it doesn't have any of the same countries or... I don't know. Some planet somewhere. And on this planet somewhere, there are far more connected to spirituality and chi and nature and all that other hippie bullshit. This is a world where people can use chi in order to do what is called bending, which is basically people can control and in some cases create, when it comes to firebenders, certain elements, particularly air, fire, earth, and water. Which element a person can bend is entirely based on what country they come from, and only a small portion of that country is capable of doing it. But there is one being, one all-powerful, awesome, basically Jesus, Avatar Jesus, I guess, who can bend all the elements, and this person basically acts as a peacekeeper, and his whole goal is peace. You know, like I said, hippie. When the Avatar dies, he's reincarnated into a new person, and that person takes his place as the Avatar who needs to fight for peace and all that kind of stuff. Aang is the Avatar. So a big benefit I have on this one is that I don't kind of have to force the story like I did with Mizu. Mizu wouldn't normally join the tournament. She has no reason to do that. Aang probably would, because his job is to keep peace among everything and everyone. Like, he's a peacekeeper. So when he finds out there's some big fucking tournament out there of some alternate reality being that's about to come in and take over shit, if he doesn't win this tournament, he has to kind of fight and win the tournament. That'll be interesting for a character that doesn't particularly like fighting or violence in any conceivable way. But, yeah, it is what it is. So how exactly is this going to go? Well, I don't think there's any doubt that Aang is going to be chosen by Raiden to join the Earthrealm side of the tournament. I mean, he's basically as good of a person as you can have. And unlike Mizu, Aang actually has a lot of really great powers that will help him fight in the tournament and against the enemies of Earthrealm. And in a lot of ways, he actually kind of has the best powers for a couple of reasons. For one, in terms of just area of effect ability, nobody really matches him. I mean, he can literally cause tidal waves to hit the entire island or set everything ablaze, cause massive earthquakes. At one point, he made a massive canyon that encircled all of Ba Sing Se, which is an entire fucking kingdom. Nobody in Mortal Kombat can really affect that large of an area. I mean, in theory, if he wants to spam attacks, he could probably get through the whole tournament without ever losing, just by flooding the area or doing this massive air blast thing that can launch anything in front of him just fucking several miles away. Like, I just don't see how most of the Mortal Kombat characters are gonna get around that. Except, like, I don't know, a teleporter, I guess, maybe? And if I am more or less equalizing stats here, does that mean that if Aang basically uses the fucking Avatar state that he will suddenly become vastly more powerful than anybody else in Mortal Kombat? I mean, that would make sense, right? He has like a power-up form. Nobody in Mortal Kombat has a power-up form. Or do I just ignore Aang's power-up form? I can't do that, right? The Avatar state's like a big deal. It's his whole thing is the Avatar state. So I just have to say that it makes him more powerful. Look, regardless if I use the Avatar state or not, Aang is not going to have much trouble in the fights in this particular scenario. But that's not really the interesting thing. The interesting thing is, in Avatar: The Last Airbender, there's only one world. There's the Earth, not Earth place, you know, with the different kingdoms. A multiverse does not exist in Avatar. So how would Aang's whole situation change if it did? Would he feel compelled to bring balance to all of the realms or just Earthrealm? If his whole thing is to keep balance to all life, then he would be obligated to leave Earthrealm and try to save Outworld. Shao Kahn will be like the next Ozai, like another dictator that is over his people that Aang has to stop. This will change the story drastically because in Mortal Kombat, none of the Mortal Kombat heroes go out of their way to save Outworld from Shao Kahn. For the most part, they just defend Earthrealm. It's actually not until Mortal Kombat 11 that Katana even attempts to take over Outworld and finally fix Outworld's problems, and that's only really because they're forced to. It doesn't seem like it's that high on their priority list, and if Aang was here, that would basically be the top priority from the moment he arrives in this universe. He will be compelled by the purpose of his existence to save all of these people right out the gate. So then the question becomes, is Aang capable of overcoming not only Shao Kahn, but also all of Outworld and bringing peace to all of these different factions that exist within it? And I know I said that I was going to try really hard to not roast Mortal Kombat this whole video, but I lied. So if I was to make this video 5 or 10 years ago, I would tell you some pretty good things about Shao Kahn overall. It's not like he reinvents the wheel or anything. He's not like the most amazing fucking villain ever. But the job he does and his role in the story is served well by his existence. He's an extremely powerful character that almost no one can beat in a one-on-one fight, with the exception of Liu Kang and then eventually Onaga, who has several different armies from several different nations who fight under him because they respect his battle prowess and power. He is a brilliant battle commander that has been able to conquer tons of worlds before Earthrealm, and he is so good at conquering that the Elder Gods had to come up and basically make up this rule of winning 10 tournaments in a row just so he would be allowed to conquer a place, because they know that if he tried to conquer Earthrealm, he would succeed. It doesn't matter how long Earthrealm has to prepare for his attempted conquer. He's just that good at conquering. So what you get is a villain who is strong, intelligent, and has damn near limitless resources from all of the other armies that he's conquered in the past. He fits his role as this massive threat that when he shows his face, everyone has to come together in order to stop him. Again, nothing too out of the box, not recreating the wheel. He just does what he's supposed to do. And then out of nowhere, NetherRealm decided to do the darndest thing and make Shao Kahn a satire of Trump.
Let us make Outworld great again.
Donald J. Trump, the ex-president of the United States of America. What is the purpose of this? Okay, first off, I'm not inherently against doing political satire in a Mortal Kombat game, but if you're going to take your main villain and completely alter him to be satire of a politician, you better have something interesting to say that's worth that change. And this satire is fucking trash. It's not even satire. They really just take Shao Kahn and use him to fling a bunch of random insults, the same insult over and over again at Trump. The only thing they say is Trump's a dictator, Trump's a tyrant, Trump's evil, Trump's dumb, over and over and over again. They don't have anything interesting to say. They're not actually critiquing Trump or like the way that he ran his presidency. They're not saying anything unique, interesting, or new. It's just a bunch of insults. And again, I wouldn't really care if it didn't negatively affect Shao Kahn's character, but it did. Like, really bad. See, the problem with taking the main villain of your series and then turning him into Trump when you yourself do not like Trump, there's this funny little effect that happens where now all of a sudden you don't like your main villain and you start writing your main villain in a way that shows you don't like him. So now all that good stuff I just said about Shao Kahn basically gets completely erased. Shao Kahn is no longer this incredibly powerful person that so few people can actually fight against. Now everybody can fucking beat him. Even Katana can fucking beat him. When the hell did that happen? In these newer games, Shao Kahn spends more time dead than he does alive. You know all those armies that served him because they respected his power and his leadership? Nope, not anymore. It's revealed that none of them even like him. Baraka, the leader of the Tarkatans, is no longer dogmatically loyal to Shao Kahn. He was only serving him because he was scared that Shao Kahn would wipe his people out. Same thing with Shiva and Goro. You know how Shao Kahn took over Edenia and forced the queen to marry him? And then used the power he gained from that to take over all the other realms? That's not what happened. No longer did Shao Kahn lead a coup to take over Edenia and rule over his empire from nothing. Now credit to that goes to the king's wife. She betrayed him and is the only reason why Shao Kahn was able to take power. Oh, also, she's significantly stronger than Shao Kahn now, taking out like 80% of the roster of good guys in a 1v19 fight. I'm not exaggerating when I say that literally every single thing that Shao Kahn excelled at as a villain is completely stripped away from him in the NetherRealm games. He was changed from all that stuff I said before, intelligent, strong, great battle commander, all great stuff for a villain to have, into a weak, dumb, unreasonable fool who just stands around quoting Trump all the goddamn time. Well, look, NetherRealm, it's cool that you don't like Trump and all, but I hope it was worth insulting him for 3 games straight just so you can ruin your fucking main antagonist of your series. I am not one of these people who thinks that politics cannot be involved in storytelling. But if you ruin the main villain of your entire series just to get across a political message that isn't even a very good one, I don't really see that as a good trade-off. So yeah, Shao Kahn fucking sucks now. So can Aang overcome Shao Kahn? Yeah, were you not just fucking listening? Shao Kahn fucking sucks now. Anybody can overcome Shao Kahn. I could fucking overcome Shao Kahn now. So after Aang inevitably overcomes Shao Kahn, will he be able to bring peace to all of Outworld? An insurmountable task, given that Outworld is a universe that has been engrossed in war for literally thousands upon thousands of years. It's even more war-torn than fucking Aang's universe. And, Jesus Christ. You know, I was really trying to not bash on Mortal Kombat. Like, I was trying so hard to not shit on Mortal Kombat in this video. But I gotta keep doing it to get the point across. What do you want me to do? At one point during the story of Mortal Kombat 11, Katana decides, for what seems to be the first time anyone has ever tried, to basically stop the warring in Outworld. And no joke, she starts that morning. Before lunchtime, she has ended all of the fucking issues that the whole universe had. I'm talking about the Tarkatans, the motherfucking forearm bitches, the fucking bug people, like all of these different factions that have hated each other for thousands upon thousands of years. She is able to talk them out of it like that fucking morning. And how exactly was she able to do it? She just told them, hey, let's not do that anymore. And they just fucking listened for some reason. What a good idea. Bro, I don't understand why everybody like praises MLK. He was a fucking bitch. They should have put Katana over there and dealt with that shit. She would have got them motherfuckers' rights immediately. Are you kidding me? This is so fucking stupid. All right, let me just give you an example of some stuff that happens in Avatar, right? So after the show Avatar ended, they had some comic books that were basically telling the story of some stuff that happened after the war. There's one storyline that happens where basically after the war, all of these different countries want to boot all the Fire Nation people out of their country. Understandably, because Fire Nation has been occupying their country for 100 fucking years. At first, Aang, being, a young kid, not really understanding exactly how this shit works, is like, yeah, obviously, boot them from the country. This makes sense. But then as the story goes on, you start to realize that it's a lot more nuanced than that. While, yes, there were a lot of Fire Nation soldiers there who were occupying these countries, not everybody who was originally Fire Nation are actually Fire Nation. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of people whose grandparents were Fire Nation, who came to places like the Earth Kingdom, became Earth Kingdom citizens, had children. Those children grew up, got married, and these people are now 2nd, 3rd, 4th generation Earth Kingdom citizens who are now being forced to be booted from their home because they're firebenders or they have some sort of connection to the Fire Nation. You end up finding out that many of these people who have Fire Nation heritage don't even consider themselves Fire Nation. They've never been there. They consider themselves Earth Kingdom citizens. And now they're being forcefully dragged from their home, many of them married to Earth Kingdom women and having children with them and shit, and now being forced to go back to a country they've never fucking been to and don't know anything about. Aang then has to determine exactly what it is he's gonna do. Like, do you boot these people from their homes who didn't do anything wrong just to appease some people who are super angry at a country that these people have absolutely nothing to do with? Or do you risk further violence and further issues with the citizens of that country by not having those people leave? Because when a dictator gets overthrown who has been in charge of a particular group of people for 100 years, or in Mortal Kombat's case, tens of thousands of years, you'll notice shit gets really, really fucking messy. A large portion of the population will probably not agree with the overthrow in the first place and will become loyalists to the dictator. And the people who wanted him overthrown aren't going to agree with where to go from that point on now that he's gone. Because in case all of human history hasn't shown you this, people don't really agree on shit. Mortal Kombat makes the ridiculous fucking claim that all the bad shit that has ever happened in Outworld for the past several tens of thousands of years is all the fault of a single man. And that with that man dethroned, everything can just go back to the way it was before. And every single other person in Outworld are actually really good people who want the best for everybody. This is a goddamn fairy tale. Hitler would not have been able to rise in power if he was the only person who had his ideas. Those ideas were building in Germany for decades before Hitler ever came around. He took advantages of these ideas to take power. Remember, Hitler was elected, and to this day, there are still people in our world who agree with Hitler's ideas, and he was only in power for like 12 years. Shao Kahn was in power for tens of thousands of years, and now that he's gone, the game just writes everything as if nobody fucking liked him and nobody would have followed him after his death. This makes so little sense they've actually had to go back and rewrite entire factions' whole cultural rules, basically, to make it work. Like, the Tarkatans are no longer a warlike race. They're actually an oppressed people who were doing what they were doing because they were scared Shao Kahn would like fuck them up if they didn't. And it doesn't seem like they're gonna slow this down because in Mortal Kombat 1 they did the same shit with Havoc. Havoc used to be a force of chaos and destruction, and now he's just like a freedom fighter. So like everybody's a good guy now except for Shao Kahn. And Shao Kahn's ideas are as fucking paper thin evil as they could possibly get. All it took was one powerful female to come up and just say, you know what, maybe we shouldn't do this anymore. Fuck who wrote this. It's so bad. At the beginning of the video, I said that Mortal Kombat has a cool world in some ways and not cool in others. And this is kind of what I meant. The universe of Mortal Kombat is cool. Earthrealm, Outworld, all the different factions and people in Outworld, but how those different factions and universes actually interact with one another is so simplified and fucking stupid. It's not written with any nuance or complexity or intrigue or anything that's interesting at all. The whole concept of Katana having to go to all of these different factions and have peace talks with everybody and get Outworld pushed towards the right direction of coming together as one nation could have been an entire fucking game. It could have been an entire game series. And they did it in like an hour of fucking gameplay time? You're telling me that the issues between the Tarkatans and the fucking forearm bitches didn't have anything to do with culture or religion or race or fighting over resources or land or any of the other shit that every war in the history of ever has been about. It just happened to be that Shao Kahn was in charge, he liked fighting, so everybody was fighting. And as long as Shao Kahn's gone, that's it. Everything goes back to normal, everything's fine, right? Because that's what happened when Stalin got taken out of power, right? Everything was just awesome in Russia after that. This just isn't how shit works. If this game was at all written well or slightly realistically, after Shao Kahn gets overthrown, there should be loyalists fighting against the usurpers of the throne. There should be several factions breaking apart and causing absolute chaos across the whole land. People should be fighting for, you know, actually acquiring things, not just fighting for the fuck of it. This is how a fucking toddler thinks war works. So yeah, basically, entirely because of shitty writing, yes, Aang would be able to peace talk all of the fucking different factions of Outworld to just get along. Because Katana was able to do it in like an afternoon, and Aang's way better at it than she is. It was just stupidly easy. All he had to do was go in and be like, hey, stop. And they'd be like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. We never thought about that. So how would Aang do in Mortal Kombat? He would do fucking phenomenal. He would do fantastically. He would have zero issues. He probably would have solved all of their fucking problems way before they actually did in the game, because it takes them till Mortal Kombat 11 to even attempt to stop all the shit that's going on in Outworld. Aang would have tried that shit way before that. Guys, I really tried to not roast Mortal Kombat. Like, I want you to know that. I went in here with the explicit goal to not do this. Next up, we got Kazuya Mishima from the Tekken series. Long, long ago when Kazuya was a little child person, he was happy and frolicking and shit, and he had a nice loving well, sort of. I mean, his dad murdered his grandfather by chaining him underneath a temple to starve to death, and then murdered his mom because his mom was possessed by the devil, and then threw him off a cliff. You know, it wasn't all that happy. Anyway, flash forward several decades, and lo and behold, that whole mom being possessed by the devil thing, well, that is fucking hereditary, which basically means that Kazuya inherited something called the devil gene. Now, What exactly the devil gene is, we're not entirely aware of. We're not sure if it's mostly a gene or mostly a soul or a combination of both, but it's kind of like a combination of both. There's this whole thing about Azazel, which was this like alien demon being that basically passed this down on to the fucking, it's a whole thing. I'm not going to get into it. But the important part of this story is that Kazuya basically had two personalities inside his body. One was Satan, essentially, and the other one was Kazuya. Once it was revealed that he had this alternate personality, he spent a couple of years basically fighting with it for control over his own body, and the whole thing was like, oh no, Kazuya's being corrupted and he's all evil, and eventually Kazuya was able to overcome the devil inside of him, and basically his soul essentially swallowed up the soul of the devil gene, or the devil that was in his body, and he took back control of not only his body, but also the devil powers. So you'd think, okay, this is cool. He was possessed by the devil, now he's not, everything's good. Nope. Fucking plot twist. Kazuya is actually significantly more evil than that devil gene ever was. The personality that came from the devil gene was essentially a very chaotic, destructive force. It liked to kill people and attack people, and it was just like a fucking, I don't know, martial arts serial killer, essentially. That's not really Kazuya's whole bag. He's more of the world domination, enslavement, you know, that kind of stuff. Once Kazuya got control of his body back, it became far worse for the entire planet. He then took control of G Corporation and then began doing some of the most cartoonishly evil shit you could possibly imagine. Like, just as an example, at one point he ends up taking a bunch of endangered animals and then experimenting on them to basically make those endangered animals super soldiers to fight in his army. And the reason why he did this is because he wanted to go to war with the world to take over the entire planet. And he knew that when he did this, so many people would die that they would start running out of human troops to throw at the enemy. So he knew he needed other types of troops. So he began experimenting on animals and turning them into super soldiers. That is the most ridiculous fucking shit ever. Am I the only one who thinks that's fucking crazy? I told that to a friend of mine and he looked at me with a straight face like that was normal. That's not normal. So basically, Kazuya is the most evil thing that even really can be. If I had to describe Kazuya, I'll basically say that he is a karate master with devil powers who is also a fucking dictator. The thing that makes Kazuya so interesting in this particular scenario is he's the only character who would adamantly not want to join the tournament. In fact, he may even want Shao Kahn to win the tournament so that the portal to Outworld can be opened so he can then take over Earth as well as Outworld. Basically, Kazuya getting thrown in the Mortal Kombat universe completely upends the entire rules of the universe. I mean, the whole concept of the universe is that if Shao Kahn invades Earthrealm, he's gonna fucking win. That's why the tournament exists. Kazuya being on Earthrealm, especially if we give him G Corporation, Shao Kahn isn't nearly as much of a threat. In fact, Shao Kahn will actually have to worry about the possibility that Earthrealm, being led by Kazuya, will invade Outworld, which is something that Shao Kahn's never had to worry about before. Because Kazuya, compared to Shao Kahn, especially if we're comparing him to current Shao Kahn, is smarter, more powerful, more skilled, and generally all around a larger threat than Shao Kahn is. And even if that wasn't the case, Kazuya has the ability to constantly increase his power level tremendously over a very short period of time. If you've never played Tekken before, the power creep in this series is pretty fucking real, but specifically with Mishima characters, Jin, Kazuya, and Heihachi, that power creep is on a whole other level. They're basically fucking Dragon Ball Z characters. All the way down to having the crazy anime transformations, the power-up aura shit, using chi throughout their body to like increase their power levels and shit. Like, it's very similar to Dragon Ball Z in a lot of ways. So yeah, basically, if you throw Kazuya in the Mortal Kombat universe, there's really only one thing that can happen, and that is that Kazuya is going to do the same shit he was doing in Tekken. He's going to try and take everything over. He's going to try and take over Earthrealm, he's going to try and take over Outworld and Chaos Realm and all of it. He's basically just a better version of Shao Kahn with arguably more interesting powers. Not only does Kazuya have all the same powers that every Tekken character has, which is, like I said, all of the fucking chi shit that can enhance all of their physical abilities, but the Devil Gene actually gives him a lot of really cool bonus abilities. Not just the flight and ability to shoot lasers out of your fucking face. Kazuya actually has power and control over the souls of other people. In multiple cases throughout the Tekken series, Kazuya is shown trying to, and in some cases succeeding, in ripping the soul out of another being, putting it inside of his own body to increase his own power, and then his soul overtaking their soul. Now, it should be noted he doesn't do this to everyone. He only does this to characters who have power within their soul, people who have the devil gene. But in a universe like Mortal Kombat, where it is specifically shown that the souls actually do have the powers of the people who you steal the souls from, shown by the powers of Shang Tsung being able to take people's souls and mimic their powers, this would actually make Kazuya more dangerous in the Mortal Kombat universe than he is in the Tekken universe. Because in the Tekken universe, there's only a couple of characters that have that. Most characters don't have superpowers, they just have regular fucking souls, and only the devil gene people have souls with some sort of power tied into them. In Mortal Kombat, all characters have some form of power tied into their soul. And unless they have some form of soul resistance, none of them really do, because they can all be affected by Shang Tsung's soul grab ability. That basically means that Kazuya just has free reign to steal whoever's soul he wants to and acquire the powers of that person. So what you end up getting in the Mortal Kombat universe is essentially a Super Saiyan tyrant who can steal people's powers and constantly has a rising base power level that will just keep going up damn near infinitely. And I just don't see a way how fucking Mortal Kombat can deal with this. The only way I see Earthrealm being able to deal with Kazuya is if they essentially take him out immediately. Like, you can't pussyfoot around with this motherfucker because he's just going to inevitably become more powerful than you are. And he's also the type of person who looks for any opportunity to increase his power further. So different things like stealing the power of the Elder Gods or Kronika's time bullshit, he will go out of his way to acquire those types of powers, or bare minimum destroy them so other people can't use them against him. Now, if I was making this video, say, I don't know, 10 years ago, I would probably say that, you know, Liu Kang against Kazuya, that might actually be a decent fight. Liu Kang is like a master combatant. There was a time when he was the best fighter in Mortal Kombat, hands down. He was the only person capable of defeating both Shao Kahn and Goro. I might not like Liu Kang that much as a character, but as far as his physical abilities go, you know, he had it. He had that shit in the bag. He was one of the most skilled fighting game heroes. However, because of NetherRealm's writing style, and the fact that everyone kind of just beats everyone all the time, I really can't argue that Liu Kang is all that good. And if you look at the series as a whole, the motherfucker's died like 3 times. He's been a zombie twice. I mean, he just doesn't have that level of skill anymore. As far as the big 3 goes, which is Tekken, Street Fighter, and Mortal Kombat, I kind of put him at the bottom of the list in terms of fighting ability. I think Ryu and Jin, and in this case Kazuya, since you can argue that he's also a protagonist of the series, are all better than Liu Kang is. So if Kazuya starts taking over Earthrealm, I'm not 100% sure that any of the heroes of Earthrealm will be able to stop him, especially if they have to divide their focus between Kazuya and Shao Kahn. And once he succeeds in taking over Earthrealm, then it's just going to become a fight between Shao Kahn and Kazuya, and between that, we've already gone over this. Shao Kahn ain't winning that shit. Not nowadays, he's not. I mean, just considering the difficulty that Earthrealm has just dealing with one tyrant and Outworld, and how that's basically built the entire franchise, I just don't see them successfully fighting against 2 different ones at the same time, but now the second one is arguably more powerful and smarter. So yeah, I kind of think they're screwed. And I don't think Kronika eventually showing up and shit is really going to do any good. Kazuya's going to take advantage of the chaos of the world and all these people constantly fighting and warring with one another, and he's going to fucking take over. Going to be a bloodbath. Last up, but certainly not least, we have Sun Li, the glorious strategist from Jade Empire. And I'm not going through this whole fucking story, guys. I'm sorry. I know, but there's a lot to it. It's very complex, okay? It has to do with ancient spirit monks and a big-ass water dragon. It's also a god and a 30-year plan to overthrow an empire. There's a lot to it, okay? Broad strokes. Sun Li was born as the second son of a royal family who was known throughout the entire empire for his insane intelligence. The man was a master strategist and tactician, which, you know, makes sense. His name is the Glorious Strategist. And because of this, he was given the position of general over the entire empire, while his older brother Sun Hai became the emperor. Eventually, a massive drought hit the entire empire, and Sun Hai looked to Sun Li, you know, the smarter brother, and was like, hey, can you fucking fix this? And Sun Li's like, yeah, let me see what I can do. Anyway, he came up with this big plan about going and attacking this temple where spirit monks live and basically stealing power from the water dragon, which is, like I said, a fucking god, basically. And then he was going to use that power in order to bring the crops back and all that good stuff. Little did Sun Hai know that his brother Sun Li actually had no intentions of getting rid of the drought, and was more so going to use that dragon's power in order to overthrow the emperor and basically become a god himself. This plan, because of a bunch of fuck shit, ended up not working, and a bunch of people died, including pretty much every single spirit monk, and Sun Li was made a traitor of the Jade Empire. So in response, Sun Li stole the last living spirit monk, which was a baby at the time, faked his death, and then fucked off for like 30 years, posing as some teacher in a small town village, until eventually and inevitably he was found by his brother Sun Hai, which then kicks off the events of the game as you play the little baby spirit monk, now an adult that has to go and save his master. God damn, does not enough people talk about Jade Empire. This game is so fucking slept on. Not only is Sun Li one of the greatest villains in all of video game history, but the twist in this game is fucking incredible. Now look, I know that everyone likes Knights of the Old Republic. I do too. Love Knights of the Old Republic. And the Revan twist that happens in that game is a really solid twist. One of the greatest twists in all of video game history. I'm not saying that the twist in Jade Empire is better, but it's fucking close. It's a really solid twist. In that game, you play as a spirit monk, and you're just like a normal dude in your village with your teacher and all this kind of stuff. You got your crush, everything's going swell. All of a sudden, y'all are attacked, and your fucking teacher is taken from you. Well, before your teacher is taken from you, he straight up admits to you that he's been lying to you your whole life, and he's actually the brother of the emperor. So as far as you're aware as a player, you have all the backstory you need to know to go off on your adventure. Not only do you know that Sun Li is the brother of the emperor and in hiding as a traitor of the entire empire, but you know that you're a descendant of the spirit monks, that Sun Hai, his brother, slaughtered all of your people, and that he took you during that slaughter to save your life. All of this shit you know from the very start of the game. And the genius thing about the writing of this game is that all of that information is completely accurate. You even see flashbacks in the game of exactly how it went down, and those flashbacks are never shown to be false. He told you everything that happened. He just left out certain details, like the fact that Sun Hai only attacked the spirit monks because Sun Li suggested that he do it, and that Sun Li rescued you from the slaughter not out of the kindness of his own heart, but because he needed a living spirit monk to gain access to the water dragon so that he can become a god. You end up finding out that not only is Sun Li brilliant and a fantastic tactician, but a genius level manipulator, and most dangerous of all, extremely patient. Throughout the story mode of this game, he plays every single character he comes into contact with, and many that he never actually meets, like a fucking fiddle. Some of the shit he's able to pull off in this game is fucking impressive, man. Like, there's a plot point that runs through the entire game where your character, the Spirit Monk, is basically unbeatable when it comes to hand-to-hand combat. Nobody can fight you. There are several instances where you beat people in hand-to-hand fighting, and afterwards they will talk to you and they will say like, how the fuck, who taught you how to fight? Why can't we touch you? Like, it seems like a fighter like you can't even exist. You're so godly untouchable. But then when you go to face against Sun Li for the first time, he whoops your ass, and you realize you are actually not physically capable of defeating him. Not because he's so much more skilled than you, but because he purposely trained you to be completely unbeatable, but he left one single weakness in your fighting style that he himself can exploit. So essentially, you're the greatest fighter on the entire planet, except against him. And this was all part of his plan because he has trained you since childhood. And for his plan, he needed you to be so skilled, no one could possibly overcome you, but not so skilled that he couldn't. It's not until the late game that you as a Spirit Monk figure out what this weakness is and basically fix your fighting style to get rid of it that you're actually for the first time able to fight Sun Li on par. In terms of just sheer intelligence and planning ability, I would be sitting here for a long time trying to think of another character that would come even close to Sun Li. And that doesn't even include his fucking fighting abilities. He knows basically every fighting style that exists in the game. However, he focuses on 3, which are the ones that he uses during his actual boss fight, and those are the ones that we'll talk about that are actually going to be relevant. The first one being Leaping Tiger. Nothing too special about this one. It's just a super fucking fast, one of the fastest fighting styles in the game, and it's very mobile. It allows you to get around the map very, very easily between different people. It's not only hard to hit people who are using Leaping Tiger, but they can generally outpace you and hit you 3 or 4 times before you even realize they started striking. It also has the benefit of creating these sort of like chi claws when you punch people, so even though you're punching them with a blunt fist, fist, it actually does damage as if you're stabbing them with large, basically tiger claws. The next style he uses is Paralyzing Palm, and yeah, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's basically Ty Lee from Avatar. Every strike can paralyze you. It's pretty fucking good. And his last fighting style is called Spirit Thief. Basically, every single time he strikes you, he steals your chi and adds it to his own. So as the fight goes on, you get weaker and he gets stronger, as well as him being able to use that chi to heal wounds. This also has the added benefit of basically giving him limitless fatigue. Like I said, he is shown using other fighting styles as well. Like in all the flashbacks they show, he's used wielding this massive fucking sword, and he talks about other styles and other abilities as if he knows them. There's this one style that allows him to basically summon a dragon and shoot fire and shit, which he does use, and he's trained other people to use it as well, but he never actually uses it in a fight against you. So I'll be assuming that these are his three go-to, since those are the three he uses against you, and you're basically the toughest fight of his life. On top of all that, at one point in the game, he actually does get the power of the water dragon and basically becomes like a demigod. When he does that, he gets a bunch more powers. He makes a bunch of statues come to life and fight for him. At one point, he locks you in your own mind, and y'all fight in this sort of alternate mind dimension, and you have to fight against like 100 of him at the same time, and so he just gets a bunch of crazy godlike powers. But honestly, whether I give him the water dragon powers or not, I don't think it's really gonna matter. I don't think anybody in Mortal Kombat is gonna be able to beat Sun Li. Not only is he smarter than all of the smartest Mortal Kombat characters combined, but he should also be considerably more skilled. The Jade Empire universe is a universe where basically everybody knows how to fight. Like, every single person. And he was able to train you so well that you literally became unbeatable to any person in the entire world, which obviously should mean that he is more skilled than anybody in the entire world. He really has no equivalent in Mortal Kombat. There is no one character that is just this ultimate unbeatable, knows every fighting style, just crazy level of skill. It's just, it doesn't really exist. Everybody's kind of around the same level for the most part. Again, because of the weird writing where characters just randomly beat each other for no reason. But also, his powers are just way more useful. I mean, you can say that some of the characters in Mortal Kombat have some broken ass powers. Everyone likes to talk about Scorpion and how he can just go to hell, and when he's in hell he just infinitely increases in strength and he can come back to the real world and beat whoever he wants. Or he could just straight up drag his opponent to hell. I mean, that's cool, but it doesn't matter how strong Scorpion gets if Sun Li can just steal all his fucking chi and instantly paralyze him with a single strike. Nobody has anything like that in Mortal Kombat. Much like Kazuya has the power to steal people's souls and with it their powers, or at least their power level at bare minimum, Sun Li, for all intents and purposes, can do the exact same thing with individual strikes. So you have a character that's way smarter than everyone in the universe, that's way more physically skilled than anyone in the universe, and that has the patience, tactical, and manipulation ability to basically do anything he wants to do. It would be like if you took Shang Tsung's intelligence and manipulative ability, multiplied it by like 1,000, and then gave him the physical ability of like Onaga, and then decided to toss him in the middle of a Mortal Kombat tournament in the first game. He can do whatever the fuck he wants. If Sun Li wants to take over Earthrealm, he'll do it. If he wants to take over Outworld, he'll do it. If he finds out about some crazy power, which he will at some point, whether it's the time shit or stealing the powers of the Elder Gods or whatever, because again, he was able to steal the power of the Water Dragon, so it's very possible he can steal the power of the Elder Gods too. He'll take that shit and then he can rewrite all of time to be any way he wants it to be, and he'll be able to manipulate everybody from Kronika to Shao Kahn to Raiden to anybody else that he needs to get the things he wants. Nobody in this universe has been shown being that crafty to be able to see through someone like Sun Li, someone who is able to manipulate literally every single person in his world for 30 years straight. So what do I think will happen if you put Sun Li in the Mortal Kombat universe? I think he's going to go after the time shit, and I think he's going to use it to rewrite reality. At the end of the day, what Sun Li wants is to be a god. And while there are multiple ways for him to do this, the quickest way is through the time shit. He may start off at first trying to steal the powers of the Elder Gods, and he may manipulate his way to that point. But the moment Kronika shows up, that basically answers his question. It's a way of him instantly getting the things he wants. So I think that that's the end goal. And I don't think that there's anything in this universe that could stop him from doing that if he wanted to. Not unless they knew what he wanted to do beforehand, and he's way too smart to let them figure that shit out. Nobody in his own game, including the player of the game, had any idea what his his plans were until after it was too late to stop him, basically. Again, he was eventually defeated in the game, but he succeeded in his goal of stealing the powers of the water dragon and becoming a god. Like, you had to beat him after he got that shit. So absolutely, Sun Li, the glorious strategist, fucking dominates the Mortal Kombat universe. Are you kidding me? It's not even close. But that's gonna be all for today. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, share, and join the membership. Remember, if you join the membership, you'll get videos early. And if you have any problems with this video, which I am sure you have plenty, well, you know what? That's what a goddamn response video is for. So leave your comments down below. I'll read them, and if there's enough shit disagreeing with me, I'll probably make a response video about it, because apparently I'm doing those again now. And always remember, y'all stay safe out there, you hear?